Despite the November 20 provincial and parliament elections drawing close, the election fervour is yet to be felt in several parts of Kathmandu and Lalitpur. The local residents have grievances regarding the government failure in ensuring availability of basic infrastructures, among others. Good morning, I'm Sarah Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. Manifestos of political parties devoid of plans to retain productive young population, as around 1,500 leave Nepal every day to seek jobs abroad. Several parts of Kathmandu and Lalitpur yet to feel the election fervour. Local residents not happy with past leaders and government urge candidates to prioritize basic infrastructures. The U.S. Senate control hangs in the balance as Republicans move closer to securing majority in the House of Representatives, a day after Democrats avoided a Republican red wave in midterm elections. And it's England versus India at the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup today. Winner to see Pakistan in the finals on Sunday. Majority of the mainstream political parties have formed electoral alliances with parties that have contrasting ideologies to ensure their wins. However, they still face challenge from new political entities and independent candidates. The competition previously seen between the major parties is likely to witness the entry of new forces this time around. Nepali Congress has been winning recent elections in Kathmandu Constituency 1. However, in addition to the candidates of Nepali Congress and CPN-UML, those of Rashtriya Prajatantra Party and Rashtriya Swatantra Party are also growing popular for the November 20 election. This can be taken as an evidence that the competition is no longer limited to mainstream parties. The situation is similar in Kathmandu constituencies 5, 6, 8 and Lalitpur 3. The ruling coalition and the opposition alliance are also likely to face more competitors in Chitwan as well. The voters are also calling for transformations. Such a scenario could benefit independent candidates and candidates of new political parties. Meanwhile, analysts are of the opinion that it would be difficult for the parties forming alliances to convince their voters to vote for the candidate for alliance partners. Around 1,500 young population leaves the country every day to seek employment opportunities in foreign nations, while 1.7 million youth are unemployed in Nepal. However, political parties have not included programs targeted to retain the productive young population in their election manifestos. Most political parties have linked youth with labor and employment in the election manifestos, while the election manifesto of Nepali Congress has mentioned involving 200,000 youth in the communication and information sector. That of CPN-UML includes the slogan Youth for the Nation. UML has expressed commitment of promoting young farmers and business persons and supporting entrepreneurship. CPN Maui Center has promised of creating employment for 1 million youth in the sectors including national pride projects, agriculture and industries, along with 2 million jobs in the next 5 years through a dedicated employment authority. However, political parties do not seem to have any clarity on the nature of employment opportunities and skills required for the young population which is leaving the country for foreign employment. According to the Central Bureau of Statistics, the national population growth rate is at the lowest of the past 80 years at 0.93%. Based on another survey, the productive population of Nepal figures 7,086,000. The political parties have been failing to retain the productive young population and mobilize them for national development. However, the manifestos of the parties seem to have included youth-related issues only for formality. With the November 20 election drawing close, candidates and cadres are busy in their door-to-door campaigns. Efforts are underway to convince the voters even by violating the election code of conduct. However, the voters are yet to feel enthusiastic about the upcoming elections. Farmers who are busy in their agricultural fields are yet to feel the election fervour. Even those who have exercised their franchise since the Panchayat era are not enthusiastic about the upcoming elections. They have attributed the shortage of basic goods in villages as the reason for lacking interest in the nearing polls. Nangle Bhare is a place in Kathmandu which suffers from the shortage of basic medicines such as cetamol. Other issues of Nangle Bhare include lack of proper roads and drinking water. The local residents have shared grievances regarding the indifference of political leaders. They have also said that in addition to the rising inflation, there are challenges in finding market for their agricultural producers. Now, candidates are making several assurances to the voters to win their confidence for the November 20 provincial and parliamentary elections. However, the voters do not have large expectations from the candidates. The voters of parts of Lalitpur have suggested the candidates to prioritize development of basic infrastructures. Local residents in Leli in Lalitpur have shared their grievances regarding what they say was the indifference from the government and political parties. They have called on the candidates for the November 20 election to prioritize agriculture, industrialization, subsidies and soft loans for farmers, finding market for the local agricultural producers and basic infrastructures, including roads, drinking water, health and education. In our Public Voice segment, we've asked about public expectations from the candidates. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
सरकारी अस्पताल नारायणी अस्पतालको चाहिँ व्यवस्थापन राम्ररी गरिदिनु पर्यो।
शिक्षा स्वास्थ्यमा उहाँले के गर्नुहुन्छ कि भन्ने आशा राखेको छु।
फिमेललाई के चाहिन्छ लाइक प्रोटेक्सन हुनुपर्छ।
न्यू टेक्नोलोजीहरु हाम्रो कन्ट्रीले एडप्ट गर्नुपर्छ।
त्यहाँ शिक्षा भएको राजनीतिकरण बढी सिडिसक्यो।
बन्द भएका कल कारखानाहरु खुल्नु हुनेछ भन्ने आशा छु।
5 वर्ष चाहिँ एउटै सरकारले काम गर्न पाउनु पर्छ।
गुणस्तरीय शिक्षा प्रदान होस्।
आफ्नै देशमा अब राम्रो खालको रोजगारी हुनु पर्यो।
हाम्रो गाउँ ठाउँ शिक्षा स्वास्थ्य रोजगार ठाउँ जस्तालाई विकसित बनाउनु पर्यो।
महिलाहरुलाई अधिकार दिएको छ तर त्यसको ग्यारेन्टी छैन।
शान्ति सुरक्षा अमन चयन चाहिँ जनताले पाउनु पर्छ।
महिला हिंसाको अन्त्य भइदिनु थियो।
प्रोग्रामहरु तयार गरेर त्यो किसिमको नीति नियमहरु बनाएर
ग्रामीण भेगमा स्वास्थ्य अवस्थामा चाहिँ स्वास्थ्यमा चाहिँ लगानी गर्नु पर्यो।
18 of the prisoners in Salyan jail are looking to exercise their voting franchise at the nearing November 20 elections. This includes 4 women and 14 men jailed for various cases. According to the District Administration Office Salyan, a temporary voting center will be established inside the prison premises. The prisoners, however, will only get to vote for candidates in the proportionate category for the House of Representatives. There are 128 prisoners in the Salyan jail and the remaining could not be enlisted as provisional voters, this time for various reasons. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, what do we term the shortage of papers to print school textbooks? Your options are A, height of irresponsibility, B, foul play of contractor, and C, consequence of collusion. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Let's move on to the international update. U.S. Senate control hung in the balance while Republicans moved closer to securing a majority in the House of Representatives a day after Democrats outperformed expectations and avoided a Republican red wave in midterm elections. The Senate contests in Nevada and Arizona, where Democratic incumbents were seeking to hold off Republican challengers, were as yet undecided, with thousands of uncounted ballots that could take days to tally. If the parties split those races, the Senate's fate would come down to a Georgia runoff election for the second time in 2 years after Edison Research projected neither Democratic incumbent Raphael Warnock or Republican Herschel Walker would reach the 50% necessary to avoid a December 6 one-on-one rematch. Even a slim House majority would let Republicans hem in Democratic President Joe Biden during his next 2 years in office, blocking legislation and launching potentially politically damaging investigations. Speaking at a White House news conference, Biden vowed to work with Republicans and said he understood voters are frustrated despite Democrats' surprisingly competitive campaign. He also reiterated his intention to run for re-election in 2024 and said he would make a final decision early next year. Biden had framed Tuesday's election as a test of U.S. democracy at a time when hundreds of Republican candidates embraced Trump's false claims that the 2020 presidential election was stolen. Russia has ordered its forces to withdraw from the Ukrainian city of Kherson, the only regional capital seized by President Vladimir Putin's troops since the war began. The announcement followed weeks of Ukrainian advances towards the city and signaled a potentially huge blow to Russia's military campaign in Ukraine, which it invaded in late February. In televised comments, General Sergei Surovikin said it was no longer possible to keep Kherson city supplied. Russian Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu also echoed the comments. The announcement came hours after the Russian-installed deputy head of Kherson, Kirill Stremusov, was reportedly killed in a car crash after weeks of urging residents to evacuate the area. Pavel Felgenhauer, a Moscow-based Russian military and defense analyst, said the announcement was a big blow to Moscow and was being criticized in Telegram channels linked to nationalist right. Kherson is one of 4 Ukrainian regions that Putin proclaimed in September he was incorporating into Russia forever after a referendum condemned as illegal by Ukraine and its allies. U.S. President Joe Biden said Moscow's order to withdraw from Kherson was evidence of the fact that they have some real problems with the Russian military. South Korea has said the International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA) needs to play an essential role in verifying North Korea's nuclear program during a United Nations plenary meeting on an IAEA report. Australia's UN representative Heather McLinter supported South Korea's remarks and said DPRK's nuclear and ballistic missile tests were a grave challenge for the international community while condemning the actions. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia's representative urged IAEA to review the nuclear program of Iran. Now, Brazilian President-elect Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has said he will start to consider ministerial appointments when he returns from the COP27 climate summit in Egypt. The leftist former president also told the media that his team would be working on a budget so they could offer suggestions and later assess their effectiveness. During the day, Lula went for lunch with Senate President Rodrigo Pacheco as part of a series of institutional meetings that also included a visit to Superior Electoral Court. The meetings, according to allies of the president-elect, serve to resume institutionality and dialogue between the powers. Lula will be sworn in on January 1st. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.